Class changes prediction. What's up guys, Petko here. This has been a very common question. People keep asking me, hey Petko, I know you always have a good guesses what classes are going to get nerfed or buffed, so I decided to make a 5-6 minutes video talking about which classes I think will be getting changes this week and why do I feel so confident that there are going to be any. Stick around, it's going to be a ramble, so yeah, anything I say is speculation, not confirmed, okay? I do not work for Blizzard, I just have a good guess for class changes. Anyway, so usually after every single Warcraft first race, there's always class changes because they want to make sure the rest of the guilds are capable of filling the Hall of Fame plus 100 guilds to finish Hall of Fame, and also make sure the class balance around rate is actually in a good hands so more people can try out the mythic rate. Now keep in mind that class balance can never be perfect, but the first at least 2 months they focus on specifically and only raiding all the way until NDI becomes active. And I believe NDI hasn't really specified yet which date will start, but I would assume it will be one for season 3. So without further ado, let's make a list. All right, first thing first, I'm gonna whip out the note here. Classes that I think will be getting a nerf. Okay, first on the list immediately, Farseer, Ellie Shaman. Now, the thing about that is this could be a double-edged sword because if Farseer tier set gets to be nerfed, potentially that can complicate stuff for Restoration Shaman because the Restoration Shamans are playing right now Farseer. So if they nerf only Farseer and specifically set Ellie only, that's fine. Because currently Elemento does a lot of good single target and the Farseer is broken, okay? Keep in mind, you do not play that in Mythic Plus, ever. You only play Stormbringer, so if they only nerf the Farseer tier build, perfectly fine. Ellie for Mythic Plus is still gonna be insane pickup. You just wanna pray as a rest Shaman, they don't nerf Farseer in general as a, as a hero talent or as a tier set, because that can overcomplicate things for you. Next on the list, I'm sorry to say this, Prot Warrior. Prot Warrior single target is absolutely crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerf Prot Warrior single target damage. I would not be surprised to see that, or in general damage output that they do right now. They're way too much damage coming from warriors. I don't wish for them to be nerfed. I would like all tanks to be playable, so more players actually engaging, actively playing tanks or healers, because again, the more tanks we have, the faster the queues are, the more fun the game is. However, when something is not right, I specify it. In comparison to other tanks, Prot Warrior is doing absolutely crazy damage, especially single target. So maybe adjustment there, either leave Prot Warrior the way it is and buff the rest of the tanks a little bit damage wise, or make Prot Warrior do slightly less ST damage. Next on the list, Lock. Destrolock to be specific. So currently Destrolock is doing absolutely fantastic in raid. One of the best simming specs right now, all together with Demonology. They're doing crazy stuff. Now for M+, although a lot of people don't think locks are good, I am on the other side of the bridge, and I sincerely believe for the highest of the highest levels, when I talk about highest to the highest, I mean like, 18s, 19s, etc. Destrolock is doing absolutely diabolical damage, no pun intended. The sustained AoE damage is crazy. Yes, they don't give you a raid buff. You don't need a CR from them because you play already with the DK, but the overall output from Destrolock is super competitive. The only thing that I don't like about Destro is in mass AoE, you don't have a prior damage, which means you kind of need classes to focus on prior, like Havoc, for example, like Arcane, like Asa. So those specs I would be very much inclined to have them with Destrolock, but I think Destro right now, just because of their raid performance, is doing pretty good. They might get tuned down. Okay, so let me just make a possible nerfs. Okay, I'm gonna make a line real quick. Possible buffs. All right, so possible buffs. Let's talk about that. I think on the line for possible buffs is gonna be actually, unironically, Hunter. I know people have been playing Hunter quite a bit for Mythic Plus, and it appears to be amazing, and yes, it is amazing, but currently BM Hunter in pure single targeting rate is doing terrible. Again, not the worst spec by far, but it's definitely like bottom 10 specs right now on the pure single target. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually buff Hunter. I wouldn't be surprised. Not MM though. Either BM or Survival, I don't think MM is gonna get touched at all. MM is already doing fantastic both in Raid and Mythic Plus. I don't see any way for them to get better there unless they prevent the massive amount of RNG happening. Or I guess that's the only way for them to get changed, but I don't think they'll get touched anyway. So Hunter might get buffed Survival or BM. I'm inclining more to see a BM buffs, although I would love Survival to be meta compared to a BM, but if BM gets to be buffed, it would be absolutely diabolical because they were already one of the highest DPS specs in the game. I've mentioned this many times on PTR. I made videos and tier lists and people kept laughing at me. BM Hunter, especially late into the game, once you get your max secondary stats, you are gonna be a menace. Absolutely crazy output coming from BM Hunter. Keep in mind, they do balance things around raid. Next on the list, Moonkin. Moonkin might get a buff too, okay? The reason why I'm saying this is because their raid performance right now is definitely one of the, I think it's like bottom 3 specs right now in raid currently, which is not really something that people like to see, or especially class balancing wise, you don't really want to have a spec that does, 25% less damage than the highest seeming spec in the game. So this is something that it will probably get adjusted at some point. The only thing that I'm scared here is because they usually already a month into the season, their whole focus right now is bringing alpha of the midnight coming out likely in like end of September or like October. And I think if they don't have the people or the resources or the interest to balance the season properly, they might slap out above the Moonkin, which is really bad. Now I'm going to explain why it's really bad. Because Moonkin AoE damage is already very competitive. I don't want to say one of the best, but like in the high level keys, definitely top 5 spec right now in terms of only AoE output, like uncapped AoE. So if they are to get auto buffed instead of pure single target buff, this can overcomplicate things a lot for Moonkin, because that will probably force them to be meta again, which pretty much disqualifies Restoration Druid from ever being S tier. And you're gonna have Restoration Shaman, and that means if Rest Shaman gets to be in a meta comp, that means Ellie or Enhance is definitely RIP. Okay, so Moonkin, we're hoping to see only ST buffs, only ST buffs. We're hoping to see that. We don't want to see them getting out of buff. Next in line is gonna be obviously fan favorite Enhance Shaman. Enhance will probably gonna get adjusted again. Currently, once again, they do pretty poorly in raiding, and there's a massive misbalance between Ellie and Enhance in raid, specifically single target wise. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually adjust Shaman, Enhance Shaman again. I believe this is gonna be either second or third consecutive buff for Enhance if they get a buff this week. So yeah, I think Enhanced buffs are pretty warranted. I would say it's definitely one of the specs on my radar right now to get buffed. Next thing, Asa Rogue bug fix. So there's been a lot of bugs surrounding Assassination Rogue, and a lot of people talking about if they get to be fixed, they're gonna do a lot more damage. While that's correct, I feel like the main underlying issue with Asa Rogue right now is their pure single target in Mythic Plus. While you do amazing AoE damage and you have very good funnel / prior damage, when you fight only one target with Mythic Plus talents, this story is not quite there. Hence why I am pretty confident that they will probably not buff anything on Asa Rogue, because I feel like the biggest the one thing that annoys me for Asa is like if you wanna play AoE talents, you lose a lot of good valuable single target talents, right? So if you wanna make that spec more balanced or easier to balance, perhaps offer better flexibility when it comes down to talent. That could potentially solve some of the issues that people have with Asa. But in other words, if it get bug fixed, you might get compensation nerfs because of the bug fixes, because we have seen that times and times again. So don't be disappointed because of it. I still think Asa is gonna be one of the best specs in the game right now for Mythic Plus. Okay, so I think those are the obvious ones that will probably gonna get adjusted. Do keep in mind that Vengeance DH damage might get buffed as well, just so it can come close to another like other specs in raid, like tanks for example. Protection Paladin also currently seeming one of the worst across all tanks on pure single target. So I'm not sure how can you make Protection Paladin single target buffed without buffing the AoE. Kind of impossible task if you ask me, but it is possible. it is possible to see that. Although I think class talent, tank balancing has been pretty good, because we've seen people do high keys on Vengeance, on Prot Pally, on Prot Warrior, on Brewmaster. Well, not really high keys on Guardian or Bloody Cape, but maybe there are some people that do that. I think Squishy Vegan plays Guardian on high keys. I've seen him on a leaderboard a few times. Not sure about Bloody K high players like doing 18s on Bloody K. Maybe there are some. I'm not sure there are any. Yeah, so I think those are like the most probable stuff we're gonna see right now. One more thing I would like to mention is Arms Warrior. ST probably gonna get buffed. Obviously, the AoE department will not get touched at all. I think Arms Warrior AoE is not a problem. Again, it's not the best, but not the worst. Definitely above average. But I think the pure ST on Arms Warrior is a little bit whack. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went in and actually adjusted their ST only. Although, again, I'm not sure how can you make their single target buffs only and not buffing the AoE. Maybe there are some shenanigans that you can play around it, but yeah, I think those are like the most probable things that we're gonna see right now coming in this week for the class tunings. Hopefully we're gonna see a lot more coming soon, but those are like the first one that come to my mind, and I just like there are obviously more changes coming in probably, but those are the things that I think are the most probable. Devastation Evoker single target also might get adjusted, although the AoE department one of the best right now in the game. So if you see Dev Evoker getting SD buffs, that will potentially skyrocket their placement, especially when it comes down to Mythic Plus. Right now they are, in my opinion, one of the highest damage output specs in the game, although not many people actually play them. So yeah, by the way, so I don't think today we're gonna see the changes. Why do I don't think so? Because yesterday was a national holiday for Americans, a Labor Day, which again, Blizzard is an American company based in California. So the earliest we're gonna see the changes are possibly from today until Friday. So the earliest I would say is gonna be in like 14 hours from now. The earliest you can have them being available. So from 2nd to 5th of September, class changes like that. I think that possibly makes a lot more sense. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching the video, and thank you for coming through my Rumble. And if you have any other opinion, let me know. Any more feedback, let me know. That's what I think. Let's see if you're actually gonna be right. See you guys around tomorrow for the class changes, or Thursday, or Friday. We'll see. Peace out.